actual journalism, actual investigative reporting. What the is going on? Doing actual investigative reporting on Israel, the most moral nation? How is this possible? They do news now? They're doing reporting. This is an incredible shift in attitude, not just in tone and demeanor. This is like they're actually doing real work for once. This is unheard of. This is unimaginable. What a market shift.
Wyoming registered company about their operations in Gaza.
I'm just confused because, like, why aren't they just listening to what Itamar Ben-Gvir has to say and then acting like that is the truth? Because that's a little surprising. They're starting to cover the truth like they got a Nuremberg trial coming up or something. You know what I mean? It's interesting. It's interesting. I don't care if it's ass covering, chat. I don't care because, look, I'm being cold, calculated, and pragmatic. Yes, it's far too late. Yes, it's far too little. But I am not going to sit here and constantly complain about this shit because the reality of the matter is this is how that pressure continues to build. This is how that pressure continues to build because when you show this, as opposed to showing my coverage to your fucking grandparents, they are going to be infinitely more responsive to this. If you want to change people's minds, having some random dumbass who curses all the time, who wears a t-shirt in his news coverage, is not going to be the most effective communicator to change the minds of your parents and your grandparents that have firm commitments to believing that Israel is the most moral nation on the fucking planet. Having the media, mainstream outlets, say these things that I've been saying for fucking months and actually doing real journalism is good because it will then create even more pressure. I never would have imagined that this level of actual investigations would ever take place in mainstream media. I believe that you will see more and more people even using the G word. You might even start seeing mainstream media use the G word, maybe in like 3 months, 4 months from now, depending on how this issue is trending. It's cute. You think this is because the winds are changing and not permitted because job is done, and now they need to let liberals clear their conscience. No, there is that as well. This is part of it as well. But ultimately, if you're in the business of advocacy, if you want the rest of the Palestinians to survive, if you want any Palestinians in the Gaza Strip to survive this process, you have to keep pushing. Israel and Western leadership relied on people turning a blind eye to these atrocities. They thought that people would just simply refuse to care. They thought that this would turn into like the Syrian civil war. They thought, oh, it's just like happening over there. Who gives a shit? What they failed to recognize was that our populations understand that we are directly responsible for this. And no, this charitability does not extend to the likes of fucking Matt Miller. Come on, dude. I'm talking about average Joes who get duped by the likes of Matt Miller, who get duped by the likes of CBS Mornings.
What we've been told is that, by the women we've spoken to, is that there's only one person, one family in this building.
She asked us to obscure her identity to protect her privacy.
The woman who lives in this building didn't want to speak to us on camera, but what she did tell us is that there is an apartment in this building that is rented out as an Airbnb, and that a group of Americans, well-dressed Americans as she described them, stayed there for a few nights, but that she hasn't seen them for the past 10 days.
Almost as long as the group has been on the ground in Gaza.
Now, very little is publicly known.
Also, another thing you have to understand is like this is still ongoing. This is not the same as like liberals basically saying after championing the Iraq war and its continuation, turning around and being like, yeah, maybe it wasn't the best idea after it's done. This is still an ongoing issue, and therefore it's still an ongoing ethnic cleansing campaign, and therefore you need every fucking ally you can get. Many of you are late to the game. This has been an ongoing atrocity for 77 years. Do I ever sit here and tell you how late to the game you were as opposed to someone like myself? No, a lot of you learned about this process recently as opposed to Palestinians who have been advocating for their own emancipation for a very long time, or even someone like myself who has been a advocate for Palestinian emancipation for the past 10 fucking years, 12 years at this point, because it's not about being right. It's not about gatekeeping progress. It's not about gatekeeping process. It's about literally bringing as many people as you possibly can to your cause, with the hopes that eventually you can change the tide. You can make it so that there is so much pressure to support Israel that even the American government has to recalculate their priorities.
David Mensah, the IDF has admitted shots were fired
This guy's
this
insane.
morning.
This
Why
interview
is
was
Israel
insane.
firing at people who you have told it is safe to go and collect aid when they are desperate for food?
I'm issuing a unique trigger warning that I normally would not issue under any other circumstance, but he is just a straight up neo-Nazi, David Mercer or Menser.
First things first, Krishnan, we're trying to divorce Hamas from the aid distribution system because Hamas were taking the aid, profiting the aid. You know, they were charging poor, hungry Gazans to get...
Brother, what would they be able to do? Like, let's say that's the case. Let's walk through this. First of all, there's no evidence for it. But like, what are they going to do with the money? Is there a fucking merchant in the tunnels that you can go to and you just go, here's the money I got that I stole from the fucking Palestinian civilian population. Give me rocket launchers now? Like, where do they go? An NPC vendor? Do they have a fucking Walmart? Like, where? What are they doing with the money? It doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, there is literally no economy remaining in Gaza. What is Hamas supposed to be doing with the fucking money? Yeah, the fucking Resident Evil 4 merchant is in the tunnel system. Going, oh, hello, Hamas. Browse my wares, Hamas militant. I've got all these rocket launchers. All you need to do is steal money from a Palestinian child, and I'll give you all of the fucking rockets. What are you buying, Hamas?
Unfortunately, some of these suspects continued advancing towards our troops in a threatening manner, and so further fire
Well, they
was
were desperate
directed
for food.
near... No, where there are people desperate for food, we want them to get the food. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. We're trying to get the food to the individuals.
Hamas, were they armed?
The IDF will be able to answer that question directly, but let me tell you, our intention is to get as much food to ordinary Gazans. In the video of the incident on Sunday, the IDF have already released that video, and it showed as clear as daylight.
That's a totally separate incident, David.
Right, but this is very, very important to put this into context.
That's a totally separate incident in a different place.
No, it's not.
And there's
separate.
no evidence that was even Hamas.
It's 2 days before. It's 2 days before, and these are Hamas gunmen.
They're not. They were your gunmen. They were gunmen, as I've detailed, that are working directly with the Israeli occupying force that are ISIS affiliate militants and criminal elements in the region that get to operate within the Israeli created red zones suspiciously without ever getting shot by any of these quadcopters, including in the goddamn drone footage that they're posting. The entire reason why they do this is so they can literally post that drone footage to be like, well, see, Hamas was doing it.
Let's keep it to what happened this morning. Was anybody armed? Did anybody fire at the IDF?
We can't separate the two. We can't separate the two. Now, the IDF said they were advancing in a threatening manner, and obviously they felt their lives were under threat. The IDF operates under international law, not Channel 4 law, international law. And that's why it's very important. The details of this case are very important. Now, the IDF is aware of these reports and also of casualties, and they are reviewing the incident. But look, a couple of things are clear. We are not preventing the arrival of Gazans. The opposite. We want more humanitarian aid sites, and we want more Gazans to collect that food. We're encouraging it. Now, these warning shots were fired
David,
away from the aid distribution.
Twice now, desperate people who have been starved for weeks have been shot at while trying to collect aid. You are
starved for weeks by who? Also, it's pretty funny that the Channel 4 reporter is in Jerusalem and he's talking to the Israeli Hasbara guy who's in Tel Aviv. Like, they could be doing this in person. I didn't even realize until this moment. Like, I will say, like, Western media has started to do real coverage, finally. And Western media is covering this like Israel won't actually deport them or even assassinate them, which is surprising to me. Like, you're talking a big game when you're literally inside of the apartheid state. shockingly enough. But once again, this is a marked tonal shift from mainstream reporters.
What terrifying